It's Braves versus White Sox, and the White Sox were absolutely smacking the Braves, but the Braves flipped the script with a 5-run 7th inning. So now the Braves are only down 1, and they're going to pick up right where they left off in the 8th inning. Profar is going to kick things off with this walk, and then Olsen is going to rip this double. So now it's 2nd and 3rd with no outs. Ronald Acuna Jr. coming up, and the Sox manager, Will Venable, says no thanks. Acuna is intentionally walked, so now it's bases loaded, and Michael Harris is coming to the plate. Now, if this were before the All-Star break, that would be great news for the White Sox. As we can see here, Michael Harris was one of the worst hitters in baseball. Truly bad across the board. However, after the All-Star break, Harris has turned his season all the way around with a bang. Look at these ridiculous numbers. He has been molten hot, arguably the hottest hitter in baseball. And we can see even in this game, he's done major damage. He crushed this 2-run home run back in the 1st. And just a week ago, Harris had the bases loaded versus the Mets, and he hit a grand slam. So this is a huge problem for the Sox. How are you going to pitch to Michael Harris in this situation? And here's the pitch, and he's going to bunt. It goes back to the pitcher. He flips it home, and that is an out. No run scores. Oh my goodness, what was Harris thinking? Everyone is absolutely stunned. Here's what the Braves broadcast said.
Wow, I'm stunned, guys.
I got nothing for you guys.
Yeah, that's where you'd like to be able to get inside somebody's head and wonder or ask, what did you see?
And here's what the White Sox broadcast said.
I just don't have any words right now. If I am the Braves manager, I am furious. I mean, you got one of the hottest hitters on the planet, bases loaded, nobody out, and he bunts it directly back to the pitcher for the easiest out of the ballgame.
So everybody is wondering, what the heck was Harris thinking there? Well, here's his quote after the game. Harris said, "I just didn't execute it the way I planned in my head. I was just planning to get it down the first baseline and secure a run. And even if I got out, we'd still have a chance with runners on 2nd and 3rd with 1 down to get the go-ahead run." So this is absolutely fascinating. So let's take a closer look at this. The first thing I want to note is that Harris's bunting is really underrated. We can see in his first 3 seasons, Harris really didn't bunt much. He only had 2 combined sacrifice bunts in his first 3 seasons. This year, he's up to 4, and he's actually laid down a total of 6 bunts before this one this year, and generally, just watching him here, we can see they go where he wants. And most importantly, he has laid down bunts up the first base line. As we can see with this bunt here, this would have been a perfect one in this situation. And then this one here is an absolute beauty, and he ends up getting a base hit out of it. So even though it's a pretty small sample size, I think it's safe to say that Harris is a pretty good bunter. Another factor that may have been at play for Harris in this situation is he was facing a lefty. He is slightly worse versus left-handed pitching, and he grounded out facing this left-hander earlier in the game. So that definitely could have been on his mind as well. But despite those factors, a lot of people are saying that this is just an absolutely dumb move to bunt with the bases loaded. You just don't do that. So that got me thinking, how often do people bunt with the bases loaded? And what usually happens in that situation? So here's what I found. Before this play, there were 19 times in the last 5 seasons where a player bunted with the bases loaded. What percentage of the time do you think a run scored in those 19 plays? Okay, are you ready? Believe it or not, 14 of the 19 times this happened, a run scored. That's a 74% success rate, which is really crazy. I was not expecting to see that. Basically, this works a lot. And here's the crazier thing. Of those 5 outs, 4 of them were popped up. Only 1 was on the ground. So basically, if you get the ball down, you have a 93% chance of a run scoring. You basically are forcing the pitcher, who's usually not a great defender, to make a great play. As we can see here on these plays, the pitcher's either fumbling it, they're creating chaos, they're overthrowing. You're really putting a lot of pressure on the pitcher to make a great play. And that's exactly what Alexander did in this play. It's a perfect glove flip. That's a really hard play to make. So I'm going to give Harris a little bit more credit here. Bunting with the bases loaded is kind of an underrated move. However, there is one difference between those hitters and Harris, and that is that those guys are all poor hitters. So we can see it's Austin Hedges, it's Brooke Baldwin, it's Reese McGuire. No offense to those guys, but those guys know they can't get a hit in that situation. And if this was first half Michael Harris, then absolutely, yes, he should bunt in that situation. He's not hitting at all. Absolutely try to lay down a bunt. But this is second half Michael Harris. He's been hitting like an absolute stud, and studs take swings in this situation. I just think Harris needs to be reminded of that. He is no longer that first half player. He's this second half player, so trust that bat and take a swing. The good news for Harris is that the Braves do end up scoring 2 runs later in the inning, and they take the lead, and then Harris ends the game with this awesome catch in the 9th inning. So he does end up redeeming himself. This was a really wild game and a very interesting game for Michael Harris.